And there we are.
Hey,
It's another episode. We got the whole team together.
we're back together again.
Absolutely. Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here today.
Why are you here?
Why are we all here? Why are we all here? Right?
What I mean is, there's normally softball. So why are you able to be here?
I actually have no games this week. People in our area don't have JV teams, so I got a week off. So I gave everyone Monday off, and we don't play till next Tuesday. So that's our last game. So no sense in burning the kids out. We got a lot of injuries right now. A lot of elbows and shoulders that are sore. So
Yeah.
an extra day. It's always worth it.
Good.
That's why I get a chance to come and hang out with you guys.
Hey, right back at you.
Yeah.
Cole, what's up?
Not a lot. Excited to be here.
You're a man of many words. Way to go.
That's what I do. Just recovering. When Scott said it was Monday, I had to look at the calendar and say, like, oh God, it's only Monday.
Oh, dude.
So it took me back for a second. I was paused for a second thinking it's only Monday.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, and it's particularly rough because the three of us actually were hanging out with the state California Math Council meeting Friday. And then, except for you, Cole, you were probably busy with something else. And then Scott and I were there on Saturday. So we did collectively about 10 hours worth of CMC meeting stuff. Scott, what was your big takeaway from our hanging? You didn't know I was going to ask you that. So sorry.
No, that's you kind of caught me flat-footed here. We still got a lot of work to do, and we're just trying to make sure that we're doing as efficiently as we possibly can to make sure that we're maximizing the work we do for our membership.
Yep. I was thinking I really appreciate it. And in fact, I tweeted it out in the middle of the meeting. I really love working with this collective group of people that is known as California Math Council, because we were all, even on the Zoom, remotely, it was very clear we are all passionate about math. We're passionate about all kids learning math. And then because we're the executive board, we're also passionate about making sure that we're using our monies properly. And there's a lot of attention to let's run this organization well. And that makes sense because California is like the 5th largest economy in the world. We represent the math teachers in this 5th largest economy of the world. I just felt honored to be working with that group of people. Cole, how about you?
So I think that I appreciated the focus of getting back to making sure that not only are we thinking about the supports that we're giving to our membership and teachers, but also making sure that we act and behave as an organization kind of along the way, kind of continuously reminding us that it's not just all the things that are going out, but it's a lot of also time for us to pause and look internally as a group to make sure that we are not only being able to do this work right now, but we can do it also a decade from now in the future through sustainable practices. So I enjoyed that part of it, the meeting as well.
Yeah. And I like that we were talking about how do we be an organization that is known for something beyond just 3 conferences a year? Like we do something way more than just run 3 conferences. What are we doing the other 359 days a year, And I appreciated us kind of brainstorming and thinking about that aspect of California Math Council.
Yeah, that committee time was really valuable for hearing what's coming out for all those different committees with advocacy and trying to get representation at the state board meetings or the educational subcommittee meetings, and how we're doing family engagement and all these little subgroups and how to tell people about their memberships, and how that when you go to a conference you're actually a member now, and that's why you get the all the stuff that you get along with that, all the publications and the information, and trying to make sure that they understand that, hey, that's part of the membership deal.
Right. Oh man, you caused me to I forgot what I was gonna say. Stinker, binker. This is a good time to kind of tell everybody, well, the 4 people who are listening to this episode.
Yeah. Hi, Christina.
Yeah, we have our 3 spouses, and then probably one other person out there is listening.
I heard we got played in Lake County the other day, so we got to shout out to Lake County for listening to us.
That's true. Christina Lincoln Moore did have some nice things to say. But this is a good time to tell everybody, hey, join our organization. First off, you're already a member once you go to a conference, but then get involved and volunteer to help run those conferences, because really that's just becomes the excuse to join a community that does stuff the other 359 days a year. And so I'll put it in the link, but go to the California Math Council website. It's cmc-math.org. And just peruse, look around, find a button that says become a member, do all that sort of stuff, because I was really proud of us this past weekend.
Absolutely.
All right. Can we talk math?
Cool. Let's talk math.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so we have been. No. First, before we do that, we got to introduce our next webinar. Cole.
Yeah, we have Ed Campos coming up in May, 3rd Thursday in May.
Yep. And so I'll put it in the link in the comments, not the comment, like the episode information section for people to register for that webinar. If you've already registered for a previous webinar, don't worry, you're already on our list. You do not need to register again. But we're up to well over 400 people who are on that webinar list. And it's pretty fantastic. People from Spain and Nova Scotia, and they're Philippines, they're all over the place. It's pretty amazing. Apparently the internet goes everywhere. Who knew?
Not bad for a series of tubes.
I know. It's just a bunch of wires, and somehow it works.
Well, and I was kind of surprised, like in this last one. I'm sorry for jumping in there, Duane, but like that. Gosh, it's got to be 7, 8 o'clock at night for some of these people on the East Coast, but they're jumping in live with us.
Yeah.
As opposed to just waiting for the recording to come out, which I think is really, really cool.
I didn't even think of that until you just said that. That you're right. Some of these people are probably like 2 in, 6 in the morning, trying to join us live. Wow. Holy moly. I didn't even think of that. All right. So let's do a little bit of math, or talking a little bit about math. So we've been digging into the past few weeks, chapter 2 of the revised California math framework. I think chapter 2 is probably one of the most important documents written in California math education in a long time. It is a really amazing chapter. And what we've been digging into is the 3 dimensions of systemic change that support math instruction, because we know we have to change how we teach math. We have to, because our system is perfectly designed to fail most of our kids. And so if we want to fix that and improve the achievement of our students, we're going to have to change the system. And so we started a few weeks ago with assets-based approach to instruction. Last time, Cole and I, we talked about active engagement through investigations. And this time we're going to talk about the 3rd and final dimension, which is cultural and personal relevance. All right. Enough said. Cole, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So I'll kind of get us going, and then we'll dive deeper. But whenever I kind of think about this in my classes, I often think about how can I make sure when I'm designing, from the way the room feels to the content that I bring in, does everyone feel like they belong in the space? And I kind of think that's just the basis of whenever I think about culturally relevant, like pedagogy, that's what I think is, do we all feel like we belong in that space? Can we see our histories and our values and our linguistic needs are they represented somewhere along the way? That's kind of where I'll kind of start us off with that.
Yeah, I always think of the time I saw Harold Asturias, and he has one of his presentations. He comes up and he puts some stuff up in a language that none of us know, and to sit there and kind of go, and he's asking you a lot of questions about it. And you're like, I have no clue what we're doing. It just kind of puts that in that. Oh, wait a minute, that's what my kids are experiencing a little bit here. I mean, they all come at it from mathematically a little bit like a language learner, but then you start talking about something that's really culturally specific. Case in point, remember the old released questions for the performance tasks? There was a 7th grade task where you had to redesign a tent. If you didn't know what a tent was, what are you going? I have no clue what this do. There's a bunch of lines, and then it was one of those triangle tents. Everyone else has dome tents now. I don't. They're like, well, that's not a tent. So having those references were so important, but I don't know. And part of me just says, how hard is it to include? I guess, how hard is it to try to make that connection with all the kids?
Yeah, Cole, you kind of Scott, you just kind of said the same thing, but you just wrapped up. Like, what is the elevator speech for cultural and personal relevance? It's really, does the student feel welcomed? That's it. And your tent story, Scott, reminds me of I was trying my best. I was a first-year teacher trying to make all of my students feel welcomed. And we were studying volume of a sphere. So, of course, we talked about building a snowman and the 3 spheres to build a snowman. And that's when a kid used some choice language but basically he said, what the hell do I know about snowmen? The kid had never been in the mountain. He'd never seen it snow. He didn't even know how to make a snowman. And so my attempt at making things relevant fell flat. It just, I did not attend to their needs. I just did not. I was trying, but I failed miserably. I just didn't appreciate the diversity of California. I thought my world was a good, accurate representation of everybody's world, and it wasn't. Cole?
Well, and I think that when we think about these math bases too, and this would be more for the leaders out there, it's not just the classroom or the day-to-day activities, but if you stretch this beyond kids, like, does the community feel welcome? Like, can they see themselves on your campus? Right? And how are you taking it from the top level, systematic view of the whole school, and then specifically math itself? And when parents come onto campus, do they feel like you actually want them to be there? Or is it, hey, I'm going to come and listen to you talk for an hour, and I'm going to leave as fast as I can because I had to come check the box as a parent to be here. And so just kind of keeping that kind of at the forefront of mind too. It's not just about what teachers do in their class to create these spaces. It's also on what leaders do for the school-wide focus to allow that to happen.
Are you talking more about teacher representation being more equal to the student population, or I'm sorry,
So I think about, I think about even some of the stuff that's like in math recess, and things like that. So like when I walk on a school campus, do I feel like, one, is math important? How can you tell if I value mathematics when you walk on my campus, right? Do I design things intentionally to highlight the beauty and the fun of math? But then further than that, like, am I aware of, so I'll just tell like a quick story. Like, so whenever I was a principal, I always lost, there was a week in October that the ADA on my campus for that week was horrendous. And I just didn't understand why. It was a week in October. Like, this is a random week in October. Didn't make any sense to me. Why all of a sudden is there, 20% of my population's gone? Well, it turns out that that's also the same week of a really major festival in Guanajuato, where a majority of my community was from. Right. But so thinking about these big, important cultural events that are relative to your community, and how are those coming alive in the classroom and on your campus as well? Because really, we need all of us together to feel valued and appreciated, and welcomed. Right.
I love it. You caused me to remember, it's a no duh statement when we talk about the language diversity of California. But that language diversity is really revealing a cultural diversity as well. And so if we know that we have to teach in a way to attend to the language diversity, it means we are being asked to also start to consider how to teach in a way that attends to the cultural diversity. And we're going to have to create space for doing that. And I've decided I can create the space for that diversity to be honored, that cultural diversity, but I can't do the honoring of the diversity because I don't know what I don't know. So what I need to do is create space in my classroom to allow the cultural diversity to become honored by the classroom. And I'm thinking about Judith Moskovich. She's language person, Stanford, I think. And she talks about this idea of language diversity and cultural diversity kind of going hand in hand. And we have to teach in a way that creates space for that wide range of social identities. But I can't be in charge of that because I don't know what I don't know. So the understanding language document has a mathematical language routine that I think is relevant right here. It's called co-crafting a question. Are you familiar with this? No? Good.
I wish I was.
Good. Well, you're going to be familiar with it now. I'm going to put the link to the understanding language document in our show notes. But then co-crafting a question, an example of this might be I create a tape diagram, and the tape diagram does stuff. It is whatever it is. But then I tell students, now write a story that goes with this tape diagram. Whatever this tape diagram is saying to you, mathematically speaking, now tell me a story about it. Essentially a word problem, but tell a story that goes with this tape diagram. Now I've created space for the students to introduce both their language diversity and their cultural diversity, because they're not going to talk about snowballs because they don't know snowballs. They're going to talk about whatever they know about. And then suddenly their students are feeling welcome, kind of like what Cole was saying at the very beginning.
But Duane, the challenge though with some of this is I have 180 days and my curriculum has laid it out for me to go in such a way. Like that's not a possible thing to do every day, is it?
Yes.
Well, I'm just asking. Like I'm playing devil's advocate here, right?
Thank you for the softball pitch, but I'm going to say yes.
What better homework activity to do rather than grinding through procedural problems? Have a kid write a word problem, come back, and that'd be shared at your table in your group, and the next day in the morning. I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate Cole. You're kind of giving me a softball. You're yes, it could be done every day. In fact, what we're saying is this cultural and personal relevance is essentially saying we need to make every math lesson every day an integrated ELD experience, because when we are attending to the language diversity of our kids, we are also simultaneously creating an opportunity to honor the cultural diversity of our kids. So every lesson is an opportunity to honor the cultural and personal diversity in our class. UDL is another example. Come on, that's an everyday occurrence. Using the principles of UDL, using CRA manipulatives so that the students can kind of offload some of their language issues so that they can then attend to maybe some cultural diversity that we want to celebrate and honor. So there's tons of stuff we can do. Thank you for the softball pitch there, Cole.
You're welcome. Anytime, Duane.
Hey, by the way, was this the book you were referring to?
That was the book I was referring to.
I literally had it right next to me on my desk. I was reading it through it earlier today. I love this book. For people who don't know it, it's Math Recess by Sunil Singh and Dr. Christopher Brownell, and fantastic book. I'll also put it in the show notes. Apparently, I'm putting a lot of stuff in the show notes. Anything for the good of the order, Scott?
I was just thinking. I worked on a grant once, and I'm trying to find this person's name because I want to give her credit for it. Site's been removed. Well, it's been too long since that grant was, and I'm trying to recall her name. She works with a nonprofit educational group out of Oakland, right there by Jack London Square. And she had an acronym called CLRR, CLRR, culturally and linguistically relevant and rigorous. And that was a framework which she framed all of our lessons that we were working on to make sure that component was there for all these kids. But I liked it was relevant and rigorous.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And I'll remember her name and I'll drop it at some point in time later on. But
We'll put it in the show notes.
I'm a visual learner. I can see your face, and I can't pull. I was trying to quickly pull it up real quick, but it's not there anymore.
Cole?
I think that, given the time of the school year where we're at, most people are either testing, about to test, or just finishing testing in most grades, 3 through 8 high school. We've talked about a lot of stuff over the last 3 episodes that people could be trying and thinking about. And I guess my challenge will be out to everyone that's out there right now is, can you pick one thing maybe that we've talked about in the last 3 episodes and try that? And after testing, most often administrators don't come and see you anymore. They don't care because we made it to testing. It's just please don't get them to the office, right? It's a wonderful time to try something and fail miserably at it after state test, right? After this window of time, you have 3 weeks, sometimes in some cases 4 weeks. So go out there and try it, a few times, and it's okay because you're kind of failing forward, but then maybe something you can implement from the beginning of next year, right? Because sometimes you have that mindset of like, oh, that's great, I'm going to put that in my plans for August. Well, let's try it in May and work out some of the kinks, so that way when in August it's actually okay. Right, to engage with kids.
And you're trying it on kids that you already know. You have 150 days of relationship, so you've already got the class in your routine. So this is the perfect time to take advantage of that awesome classroom management to try new things at the end of the year. Yeah. I agree. And assets-based instruction. All right. So how do you teach in a way that honors the funds of knowledge that the kids already have? Try something there. Then active engagement through investigation. How do you maybe allow the kids to play with math before you teach them? Just for a moment of inquiry. And then how can you try that in your classroom? And then today, how can you create space for honoring the language and cultural diversity in your classroom? As an example, co-craft a question. Give them a tape diagram. Tell them to write a story that goes with that tape diagram. I love that call to action, Cole. Just tell everybody, try something and then report back how it goes. I love it. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week because eventually our next episode, we're going to move into the 5 components of equitable and engaging teaching for all students. And that's a whole nother 5 episodes. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, super excited for that.
Good. Hey, thank you guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
You will.